Good to see you.
Alrighty there, Revenants, welcome back to Code Vein, and today I'd like to kind of show you guys and tell you guys and explain to you guys how the drain attacks and drain Ichor launches and charge attacks and backstabs and how those all work and operate here on your blood code as well as on the Veil and with the drain ratings and what all these numbers mean and what all these passives mean of Sharpened Fangs, Tenacious Fang, and Heroic Fang, as these are pretty interesting little gifts that you come up against, and they don't really explain to you exactly what they're doing, and especially Tenacious Fang, this is actually the most confusing one, that it says it increases damage dealt by drain attacks performed after a launch attack. So you would think that you would perform a launch attack, right? And then you start doing charge drains or something after that, or backstabs or something, and you get an increase. Well, that's not true. So it's kind of a weird one. As all these are, kind of weird that it increases by a special drain performed after a parry or a back attack. So what do these words even mean, and how do they actually operate? So kind of interesting that there how the wording goes, but we'll work through it here. So the first thing we're going to talk about is backstabs. And backstabs, I guess we can go for, it really doesn't matter which veil we pick. This is the easiest one, the Black Blood Liberator, for drain rating to figure out the numbers there, because it's an exact 1.0. And but let's talk about backstabs first, as those are kind of interesting. So we'll go for a Fortified Dawnclaw, as this has a pretty good number here of 1186. And we've got a pretty balanced code here overall, and 1186 is a pretty good number. And if we look at this guy here, the training dummy, he has a slash weakness of 10%. So 1186 times 1.1, sorry, I didn't do these numbers ahead of time. 1186 times 1.1 is 1305 about, and that'll be kind of the number that we'll need to work off of to get this guy's damage value. So if we do a backstab, remember 1305, and we get a number of 5873, and so that tells us that it is a 4.5 multiplier on backstabs for for backstab drain attacks, based on the card here. Then the next one we would be a parry attack. Whoops. And go ahead. Whoops. Okay, I'm not really good at these. There we go. And you'll notice that the damage value is exactly the same as a back attack, or a backstab, back attack, whatever you want to call it. And you'll notice that when you do a backstab, there's the little lightning thing that happens, and then the claw comes out. So there's the lightning thing, and then the claw. So the lightning bit there that happens with the red lightning that comes out when it gives you that audio cue, that is actually considered the back attack. And then the drain attack that happens during the animation by default, that happens to be the drain attack. So here when you look at the card and it says increases damage dealt by a special drain performed after a back attack or a parry. So this is telling you that basically every time you get a back attack with the red lightning there, then if you do a drain attack, which you always do by default, if you do a drain attack, then you would do increased damage. So I don't know why this doesn't say just backstabs are increased in damage, like increased backstab damage or something like that. Like, it's very convoluted, but it's very literal. So the back attack is the lightning buzz that happens, and then the drain claw comes out and attacks the enemy. So during that claw animation is when you get increased damage. And Sharpened Fangs is a 30% increase to your drain attacks, to your backstabs and your parries. So very, very powerful there. And if you look at the card, you'll notice that this went up from 1186. So this Sharpened Fangs applies directly to the card, and you can see this, and it's obvious, and you kind of understand what happened. Oh, okay, 1186 times 1.3, and I get 1542, and that's where my damage is coming from. So that's kind of obvious. Now for the others, like Tenacious Fang, you'll notice that this went back down to 1186. Nothing happened, nothing changed. Kind of weird that is indeed the case. And so where does Tenacious Fang show up? And where does Heroic Fang show up? As you see here on Heroic Fang, 1186, nothing changes on the card. So for some reason they thought it was important to increase the card showing the damage value on Sharpened Fangs, but not these two. Okay, so if we get rid of Heroic Fang there for a second, so remember on Backstabs and Parries you get 4.5 times this value times any of your elements. So what that means is if we choose like the an Ice Claw, so 1230, and we have a 20% increase in our ice damage, and he has a 0 resist to ice damage. So 1230 times 1.2 times 1.1, which is his weakness of slash. So, and then times 4.5. So 7306 is the number we calculate, and then with all the rounding and everything, 7311. So a little bit low there, 5 damage low on the calculation, but you can see there that we indeed get a 4.5 time multiplier for the backstab. We get a 1.1 multiplier for the weakness. We get a 1.2 multiplier for the ice, and then we get the regular damage. So it's very, very potent. And then if we add on Sharpened Fangs also here, you'll notice that the damage goes exceptionally high. Whoops. There we go. And so here we go. And 9505 was the number there. So almost 10,000 on a backstab there, which is absolutely crazy. But we're getting through that 4.5 times multiplier, which is where the massive damage multiplier comes from. Now you might think, oh well, go for Merciless Reaper and then get that backstab. So 9505, remember, and 12,097. So if you do indeed go for Merciless Reaper, that increases, instead of a 1.1, it gets you a 1.4 damage multiplier on the backstab there, but it happens in a very strange way, and that's why Merciless Reaper is so massively overpowered, because of the fact that it works with the backstabs there and everything. So 9505, and we had like 12,000 something, so it was like 25% increase overall of our damage, and it's because he is weak to slash, and this is a slashing veil, and it operates kind of in the space of where the drain multiplier happens as well. So massive damage can be done on backstabs, and we can see that again here, and we can get that backstab, and 12,097. And if we get rid of Merciless Reaper and we check this out, and so 9505, so massive damage spike there, about 2,600 extra damage just from having Merciless Reaper around. So it works in very good tandem when you pair up with enemy weaknesses and having Sharpened Fangs active as well, so you can get massive damage out. Okay, so now if we look at Tenacious Fang, we can, I guess we can get rid of this and go for a Resilient Focus, and we'll go back to something like this guy. So 1384 is our number there. We'll get him attracted to us here. Okay, he's gonna go ahead and get us focused here. Now, Tenacious Fang happens during launch attacks, so we'll show you here what that value is. So there we go, we get the weapon damage, and then we get 8519. So what happens is that when you do a launch attack, the first attack from your weapon, this upward strike, or whatever kind of strike it is from what kind of weapon you're running, you get that damage out from the weapon with all the weaknesses and everything for that multiplier, and then you get the Tenacious Fang multiplier of 30% increase to your damage from launching, and so and that couples into your veil. So 1384 here times 1.3 times 1.1 times and the launch multiplier is not a 4.5, it's a 4, so times 4 is 7916 about, and we got like 80 something, 8400 or something, 8500, but you have to remember that you're counting in the weapon damage as well. So the weapon damage here was 599, and then plus our drain value. So it here, when it says Tenacious Fang, that you know, you're increasing the damage after a launch attack. Well, what, again, just like the drain attack, the lightning was the initial attack essentially, and the upward strike here is considered the first attack, and then you're automatically guaranteed during focus a drain attack, and so then that drain attack gets increased 30%. So Tenacious Fang is for launch attacks, and this, again, it has a 4 times multiplier on the launch attack. Now unfortunately you can't use Merciless Reaper with this, because as soon as you do this and then do a launch, you get the Merciless Reaper active on that initial strike, and then you can't activate it during the kind of cutscene animation of your launch attack. So it doesn't work with launch attacks, which is really unfortunate, but it works with drains and all the other types. And so now if we look at Heroic Fang, let's go ahead and get rid of that first, and let's go ahead and hit this boy with a charge attack, 3807 there. Okay, and then if we add Heroic Fang, let's go ahead and, oh, okay, and so 3807, and now we're doing 4949. So we get a 30% increase to our charge drain attacks. Now Merciless Reaper does indeed work with Heroic Fang as well, and you can see there 6299, so very good. So if you can continually get backstabs or charge attacks, as you see there, we just get massive damage, and then we can do charge attacks and continue getting big damage out on the enemy. Now that is how these drains work, and let me show you here. This is how this is the kind of how this training dummy is split out into his weaknesses, and then here's the formula for how the drain attacks work. And so you have the physical damage from the card, which we were looking at earlier. Then you have any mods that you're putting on, like Sharpened Fangs or Heroic Fang or Tenacious Fang, and they will be respective towards whichever kind of attack you're doing. Then you have the enemy resistance here, which would be Slash, Crush, and Pierce, which would be these 3. And then you have the elemental resistance of the enemy, as well as your Blood Veil element, and those elements would be then here as multipliers. And then you have the Drain modifier, which is 4.5 for backstabs and parries, and 2.5 for a charge drain, and 4 times plus the weapon damage for launch attacks. Okay, so that's how those that's how that formula works for backstab, drains, and the others and such. Okay, so now if we look at what are these drain ratings on veils, and we can get rid of this. And drain ratings on veils, let's go ahead and apply some Ichor usage here. This one, okay, so we have no Ichor now, and if we go for a backstab here, and this has a drain rating of 1, and you see there that on a backstab we get 9 Ichor back. Oh, and I guess before we move on, Flashing Fang and Blow of Madness do not increase your drain attack damage by any amount. Those don't affect your drain ratings. Okay, and so on a backstab you get 9 times, and on a charge drain we'll see what that number is here. That's why the Black Blood Liberator is so good to check against. And there we get 5. So on a charge drain you get 5 Ichor, and then on a launch attack you get whatever the weapon is, plus whatever the Veil rating is times 8. So it's a little bit different. Okay, hello. Oh, I can't attract him. I guess I could use knives, but so there's 2, so we'll be able to count from there. Okay, come on. Get me some more, please. Okay, so there we go, we're focused now. So we launch, so we get 2.5, and then we get 8. So we got about 10.5 Ichor there on a launch attack, which is really, really nice that we can indeed get that amount on the launch attacks. So, and again, let's go look at the little notepad-y thing here. So here we have the charge attack is giving you 5 times the drain rating. Backstabs and parries, they give you 9 times the drain rating on your Veil. And then launch attacks are 8 times the drain rating on your Veil, plus whatever weapon drain you get from from striking the enemy the first time. So if you have a really high drain weapon like the Brionic, you can get really, really good drain out of this part of the formula here, and then leave it up to your Blood Veil to get the other amount of drain out of your Veil from the I guess they call it drain attack. That comes out of the Blood Veil at the end. So that's how the Ichor attacks work, and how the drain formula works. And then here for the training dummy, if you were interested in what his weaknesses are and such, so you can test on him with all of your gifts and such, that's there for you. Okay, and I'm not going to go into weapon drain ratings because those are a lot different, but remember, Sharpened Fangs is for backstabs and parries, increasing 30%. Tenacious Fang is for launch attacks, increasing 30%. So if you're focused a lot and you're fighting enemies that you can launch all the time, this is a great one. You don't use this too much, but it's really good because it's a 30% increase in damage. And then Heroic Fang is 30% increase on charge attacks. Now remember, Merciless Reaper, this works with charge attacks and backstabs and parries. So if you're going for a charge only or a drain only kind of a setup where you only use your Veil and you don't use weapons or anything else, maybe Dark Gifting and charge drains. Maybe we can try that in the Ridge of Frozen Souls on the road to 100, and that could be pretty interesting because Merciless Reaper will then work with your gifts and it'll work with your Veil, and it could be kind of interesting to see how that would play out. So anyways, that's how your Veils work on backstabs and charge drains and so on and so forth. And don't forget that when you add in elements, these also are multipliers again from this portion of the formula right here. The enemy resistance is considered, and then your Blood Veil does additional damage based on the enemy elemental resistance or weakness. So anyways, that's how that kind of works. So okay, well, I hope you all enjoyed learning about charge drains, backstabs, and launch attacks, and kind of how things go about interacting there. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again.